Riley McManus, and thanks for joining us. A long-haul trucker who frequently uses Highway 11 and 17 is fed up with the constant crashes along Trans-Canada in Northern Ontario and is calling for change. More than 12,000 people have signed an online petition organized by Richard Deschamps, calling on the province to increase safety on the highway. The petition has been up for over a month now and has been widely circulated on social media. It was launched after a fellow transport driver and acquaintance of Deschamps was killed in a preventable accident just outside of Thunder Bay. Deschamps has driven trucks for 27 years, spending more than half that time traversing Northern Ontario. He says he's been seeing a shocking amount of inexperienced drivers on the road, including commercial truckers. He doesn't have an exact idea of what the government should do to help, but notes that enhanced training directed to these roads would be beneficial.
It's a cry from the heart. I mean, it's just too many deaths, too many accidents. That's basically it. I mean, we need to get together, work together. We need to educate like the cars as much as we do with the trucks.
There were two more highway mishaps involving transports in late December. One near Nipigon, where the rig ended up in the trees on the side of the highway, and one near Vermilion Bay, where the truck flipped over. Deschamps has spoken with MPP in northeastern Ontario, who has forwarded the truckers' concerns to the province's transportation minister. After almost 40 years in municipal politics, Atikokan Mayor Dennis Brown is calling it a career. Brown was first elected in 1980, and aside from a couple of terms out of office, he has always held the position of Reeve, councillor, or mayor since then. Adam Riley caught up with Brown this past week to recap his incredible career.
It's time for me to move on.
For 38 years, the name Dennis Brown has been synonymous with municipal government in Atikokan. But for the 2022 municipal election, his name will not be on the ballot. Brown grew up in Devlin and later moved to Atikokan, where he had a career as an educator before first being elected in 1980 to the role of Reeve, which unfortunately was also the time when the small community began to shrink as the result of a loss of a major employer, the Steep Rock Iron Mine, with its population dipping from 7,000 in its heyday to just under 3,000 today.
We lost approximately 1,100 jobs. And that's what was very, very crucial to the town of Atikokan. And you know, since then we've been able to regain some jobs, but nothing like that.
Brown credits some of the town's recovery to Atikokan securing itself as the site of Ontario Power Generation's coal plant in 1985, which was later converted to biomass. He says he wanted to see Atikokan succeed and committed many years towards advocating for industry to come to the community. While serving as both Reeve and mayor, Brown also took on other roles, including 3 terms as president of the Northwestern Ontario Municipal Association.
We wanted to work a lot with, at least I did, with the Northwestern Ontario people, because that helped us community as well.
Part of what drove Brown for the last 4 decades was his love for his community and a belief in a strong quality of life in Atikokan, all while trying to keep the town's debt low. He says he accomplished that by supporting many projects such as the construction of a new town hall, improvements at the sewage treatment plant, and upgrades to the town's arena and pool, all while lobbying for government funding. Most recently, Brown was happy to see Aspen Court, a new supportive seniors complex, open for residents. He says he is thankful for the trust that residents have placed in him over the years.
I enjoy doing it. It gave me something to do after I was retired as a teacher, and my wife left us, in 2012. That was a sad thing too. So I had to be doing something to keep busy, and so this certainly was important. And I thought if I could help the town of Atikokan get better, I'd sure like to do that.
The next municipal election will take place on October 24th. Adam Riley, TBT News.
With the Scotties curling tournament being restricted in terms of fans and possibly going into a bubble, a local restaurant is taking a big hit. Officials with Daytona says they're losing out on a majority of a 6-figure catering contract. Daytona's put in a bid for the event, which they won sometime in the middle of December. Since then, Daytona's owner, John Collins, was getting all the catering orders planned for the Scotties. The contract was to provide catering for the entire 10-day event, which was valued at roughly $80,000 to $100,000. The contract is now worth just a fraction of that. Providing food for the teams and some volunteers, Collins says the news was a big hit for his business and their employees.
We knew we were going to be modified some, but As of last night, they basically, there's nobody going to be in the stands, and quarantine's going on. There may be a Scotties going on, but it's just going to be curlers curling. And for me, that's a big hit to take $100,000 out of your proposed budget in a January, which is a quiet month.
Collins says for now they will focus on the restaurant and its takeout orders due to the ban on indoor dining, and he's hoping things open back up by the end of the month. With restrictions closing many businesses and activities, the local ski hills have since seen an increase in numbers as they have been allowed to stay open. And with both Loch Lomond ski area and Mount Baldy ski resorts adding new runs, outdoor enthusiasts were thrilled. Mitchell Ringos has more on the slopes.
Over at Loch Lomond ski area, the north side of the hill is finally open, adding 17 extra runs for skiers and snowboarders to test their skills. The only run left is the Giant, and is expected to be open in just a few days when touch-ups are complete. Loch Lomond General Manager Gerry says the recent snowfalls of up to 40 centimeters really helped to get more runs open. And with recent restrictions, Gerry is grateful the hill wasn't closed, but is hoping everything can get back to the way it was at the end of the month.
It was really almost as close as we could get to business as usual here, and it had been a really nice start to the season. So then with the latest changes in the rules on how we could do that, yeah, it's definitely affected us in our operations.
And over at Mount Baldy Ski Resort, more runs were also available. Currently, the Gold, Hornet, Shotgun, and Barry Biggs are fully accessible from the T-Bar. And as for the main, Mount Baldy co-owner Daniel Kardas is shooting for one more week to have the run open, while the lookout will take more time as the wind has affected the spread of snow. With recent restrictions, Kardas says he was shaking in his boots waiting for the news, and with being allowed to stay open, it was a breath of fresh air, as there isn't much else to do at the moment.
We're just doing what we're told and keeping everyone socially distanced, and hopefully this will end sooner than later. We're hoping just to the end of the month, but we'll see what happens.
And with hills able to stay open, along with new runs at both Baldy and Loch, we talked to local skiers and snowboarders about how nice it was to still be able to carve down the local slopes.
I'm so grateful that we have our hills open. It's great for my physical health and my mental health. Just being outside and having the wind on my face is my favorite thing.
Yeah, it's a game changer, you know, just to get out, enjoy some fresh air, and, you know, spend time with family skiing, even though you've never tried it before.
I was super happy when I heard that. I thought it was going to shut down because I play hockey and baseball, so everything's canceled now. And skiing's probably one of my favorite things to do.
And even with the wind up to 30 kilometers an hour and it feeling more like minus 35, that didn't stop local skiers and snowboarders from coming out to both hills. But as for me, I think it's time to head back inside. Mitchell Ringos, TBT News.
From Thunder Bay to the Arctic Circle to Hollywood, two retired pilots are back in the spotlight as the historic airplane they rescued is now featured on a popular TV series. Don Wieben and Bill McLaurin spent 10 years pulling the rare military plane out of the frozen tundra and restoring it. Catalina Gillies has more on the story.
Damn it! Get these two to the med bay ASAP. Those legends might have got away this time, but mark my words, those suckers are gonna pay for this.
It was a proud moment for Donald Wieben and Bill McLaurin. The lifelong friends from Thunder Bay who learned to fly together watched the plane they rescued hit the airwaves of big-budget television.
Bishop, let's go!
But it was a long journey to get there. While fighting fires in 2001, the aircraft crashed into a lake in the Arctic. Years later, Wieben, along with the Fairview Aircraft Restoration Society, retrieved the plane and decided to make it their mission to restore it to flying condition.
It was too big to lift out with any reasonable helicopter and was 40 miles from the nearest road. And the engines had been salvaged off of it, the instruments and radios, and it had been left there for about 8-9 years.
The entire restoration took 10 years to complete, but eventually the plane was back in the air. Fast forward years later, the popular TV show DC's Legends of Tomorrow needed an aircraft for 2 episodes, and Wieben and McLaurin's rescued plane was the perfect fit.
The interaction between the movie company was phenomenal. People were always very interested in the airplane and its history, and it was a fantastic experience.
The filming was done over 7 days, and the plane was transformed using a removable paint coat.
And they painted the U.S. Battleship gray colors on it and put the U.S. Stars and emblems on it. It's pretty neat to have a Canadian airplane parading as a U.S. military airplane.
The episodes can be seen on the CTV Sci-Fi channel. The first episode, called A Woman's Place is in the War Effort, aired in late November and is available to watch. The second episode is set to air on January 12th at 8 p.m. Eastern. Catalina Gillies, TBT News.
We're joined now here with Kurt Black. Hello, Kurt.
Hi there, Riley.
Hi.
Nice to see you.
Good to see you too. Now, what's going on this Sunday night with the sports?
Well, it was the last week of the NFL season, so all the attention's on Wild Card Weekend next week, but there was plenty of playoff spots and records falling today. We'll have the highlights.